What's going on, everybody? This is the Forever Football Podcast, and today we're going to be diving into the first NFL draft grade, and we're going to be doing the Miami Dolphins today. So let's get it started. So with their first selection, they selected Tua Tagovailoa at 5th overall out of Alabama, and pretty much everyone knows this guy. He's a very talented player. He has high upside. He is very accurate, very mobile, but at the end of the day, injuries are a very big concern for him. I mean, he had the hip injury, and he also had another major injury that really raises questions about his overall durability at the next level. I mean, if you can't stay healthy at the college level, it's going to be a little bit harder in the NFL level. Hopefully, the Dolphins can surround him with a lot of talent and protect him, which in this draft, they really showed a very capable ability to do so. Overall, for the Tua pick, I'm going to give them an A- because he could be the steal of the draft or he could be a first-round bust. You just never know with that kind of medical history. So with their second first-round pick, they selected Austin Jackson, 18th overall, and he's a very talented, high-upside kid. He's very young. I think he's only turning 21 this year, and I think he could really develop into a top NFL left tackle if he works on his craft, and with the right coaching, he can be great. I'm going to give them a B plus for this pick because I do think they reached a little bit. I had him graded as a lower first round talent, but I think with his upside and his ability and the fact that they're drafting for the future, I think he's a great pick for them. So with their final first round pick at 30th overall, and I apologize in advance for this because I already know I'm going to butcher this name, Noah Igbenogany. So I apologize. This guy, he is a little bit undersized. He doesn't have the size teams covet, that 6'2" long frame, but I think he could work as a very talented slot corner in the NFL. And to pair him up with Byron Jones and Xavier Howard and have him as your third cornerback, I think he's going to be a great fit and a great piece for their up-and-coming secondary. I'm also going to be giving him a B+, just because with their corners that they have on the roster right now, I think he fits very well with them. So next up, we have Robert Hunt, who went 37th overall, and I'm going to be giving this pick an A- just because he is a very high upside player who can really develop and become one of the better offensive linemen in the league. And with this draft, they really had a common theme. They wanted to go young, high upside players who are going to be building blocks for their future and who are going to help their culture, not only now, but 5 years from now and in the long run overall. And they really wanted to go out there and protect Tua because they really knew about his medical injuries and the medical history, and they're going to try their best to minimize that. So next up, they had Raekwon Davis, who went 56 overall, and I think they had pretty good value in this pick. I'm seeing a lot of people not liking this pick so much, but I think he was about a second round talent, so I think where they got him was pretty good, and I think he's going to go along and add some key depth to their defensive line. I think he's going to be a good player. I don't think he's ever going to be elite, but I think he can be a key contributor from day one, and I'm going to be giving this a B+. So next up, we have Brandon Jones, who was selected with the 70th overall pick, and this pick was solid, but I don't think he's going to be that great. I think he's a depth position, special teams kind of guy, so I don't think the upside is there. I could see where they're going, but I think there were just better players on the board, and I think they could have got a better value, but he's a good player, so I'm going to be giving this pick a B-. Next up was Solomon Kinley, who went with the 111th overall pick, and I think he's a talented run blocker. I think he does need to work on his pass protection a little bit, but I think in a few years he could be one of the better late round picks of the draft. 111th isn't that late, but it is still late enough. He is a guard out of Georgia, and I'm going to be giving this pick a B-. I love where they're going with this pick, but I think there's still better talent on the board, but overall not a bad selection. Next up for the Dolphins at 154th overall was Jason Strowbridge, and overall I'm giving this pick a C just because I don't love the selection here. I think he's a tweener, and if you take a look at players like him in the past couple of years, they haven't had the best track record, and I still think there's better talent on the board that could have been selected, such as maybe a Tyler Johnson out of Minnesota, who I was really high on. That being said, I still think he could develop into a rotational piece who can contribute. Next up, we have Curtis Weaver, who I loved in this draft. He was highly productive out of Boise State. I'm giving this pick an A at 164th overall. I think is a steal, and I think he could be one of the better late round guys of this draft. And I think where he was selected is great value. I had him as a second, maybe third round player. To get him here is just a steal. I'm going to be giving them an A for this selection because worst case scenario, I think he's a rotational pass rusher who's just going to generate pressure left and right. Next up, we have Blake Ferguson going at 185th overall, and I'm going to be giving this pick a B just because I think it's a little bit early for a long snapper, but at the same time, I can never fault you for wanting to improve special teams, which is a massively underrated part of the game. It's really a third of the game, and it could play a huge role in positioning at times. With their last selection, they went with Malcolm Perry at 246th overall, and I think he's an undersized player, but he could very well end up being a gadget player, similar to Jakeem Grant, who was already on the team. But with the 7th round pick, they took a flyer, and overall, not a bad pick. I'm giving them a B- for the selection because I still think there's better players available, but at the same time, taking a gadget player, flyer, never can fault them, especially this late in the draft.